Hey, hi, hello. Welcome back to Flow with the Grow. I'm your host, Sophia, and this is, if you're new here, welcome, first of all. Secondly, this is a podcast for all things health, fitness, wellness, like anything under that umbrella. So that includes fitness, nutrition. I am really into spiritual wellness right now. And just a little quick backstory, that is because when I first started my podcast, I really wanted to include spiritual wellness into this. And I really wanted to include things like astrology, meditation, human design, manifestation, like all the like woo-woo, quote woo-woo type things that you hear about. And also so to bring new ideas, new topics, new perspectives I've never heard of before. And also to maybe like clear up some myths around certain things and just to give more clarity with all of this. And so I am super pumped because the whole month of May, and then also a little bit into June now, obviously, which is, by the way, my birthday month. And a great birthday gift would be to leave this podcast a 5-star review and rating, 5-star rating and review. But so what was I saying? So this month, I am continuing a little bit more of the spiritual wellness because I have had some really amazing people on to talk about different topics. And so once I get through this spiritual wellness phase of putting this stuff onto my podcast, I am going to start implementing more nutrition-based stuff. I haven't really announced this yet, but I am getting a nutrition certification. So I'm really excited. I'm learning a lot more. I just want to be able to be more in depth with people and learn more for myself. I know basics, but I just wanted to be able to apply it better with my clients. And so, yeah, more exciting stuff coming with that. But today I have on Chamonix. She is an astrologer. She's been doing this full time now, and I will let her tell how she got into astrology. It's pretty neat. And astrology is something that I've always been interested in learning about and applying that to the way that I live, but it's very complicated to me. It's the chart is just so confusing, and I hear people say like you're in this moon and just terminology, and I just don't know. So I just wanted to bring someone on to talk about it, to be the expert, and then also for my own knowledge to learn more for myself. So we talk about astrology, what it is, what that means, how you can implement it into your life. And then she also reads some of my charts. So we do a live reading, and she kind of implements more of like the health and fitness side of it. So it's really cool. I learned a lot, and some things that she said really, really resonated. I'm just like, whoa. So you'll get to hear all of that as well. I will link everything in the show notes, but if you would like to connect with her on social media, she is at Chamonix Astrology, and her website is chamonixastrology.com. Such a unique, wise human. And I would highly recommend, if you're looking for someone to do an astrology reading or you want to learn more about it, highly, highly recommend her. And I actually just saw too that she posted on her Instagram that she now has her waitlist is open. She actually hasn't been accepting people since November, I believe it was, because she has so many people reach out. So now is the time. This is your sign. I also just want to say thank you for listening, for being here, whether you listened to all the episodes, you're new, it's been a few. I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you. And if you would like to connect with me, I'm at Sophia_Dawn41. And I'm also on Facebook, and my email is flowthegirlpodcast@gmail.com. If you have any topics that you would like me to talk about, whether it's spiritual wellness or any type of wellness, health, fitness, or a challenge that you have in your day-to-day life, I like to share the highs, but I also like to share the lows because that's what people resonate with. And that's what I feel like as humans, that's the realness, right? Like that's what is life, is going through these lows. We all have challenges, and I like to try and share a optimistic perspective on things. We can learn from things. We can change our framing around certain situations. So I won't get into that right now. Let's jump into the episode with Chamonix, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now. Hello, welcome to Flow with the Grow, Chamonix. Did I say that right?
Yes, nailed it.
Okay, awesome. Chamonix. Super excited about today's episode. We're going to talk a lot about astrology and even some stuff from my chart. So I'm really excited. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to do this. I'm super excited.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
And first, can you just tell us more about who you are, what you do, and how you got into doing what you do and why?
Sure. So my name is Chamonix. I am a single mama of two kiddos. I am a big runner. I'm a part-time preschool teacher, full-time astrologer. I'm up in just the corner of North Dakota and Minnesota, just right over there. How did I get into this? I have a super blended family, very culturally diverse upbringing. So astrology and astronomy were introduced to me when I was very little, right around the same time that like the concept of like faith and like God were introduced to me. So they kind of were combined into one upbringing. And when I got into college, everybody was really into astrology. And then one day, a girl was talking about, being a Libra and how being a Libra didn't make sense to her. And I was like, oh, well, you have to look at your whole birth chart. She was like, your whole what? I was like, oh, yeah, like, tell me your birth information and I'll tell you all about it. And we were like hanging out in somebody's dorm. And then from there, I started telling people in college, like, oh, like $10 or a bottle of wine and I'll read your birth chart. So that was really fun. And then after like 3 years of it, probably it got to the point where I was profiting a little bit too much from it. And I had to kind of decide what I was going to do. And so I've been an astrologer professionally for 5 years now. Yeah, and it's a blast. It's just continuously evolving and growing, and there's more of an interest in it. And now here I am today.
Nice. Yeah, I feel like it for sure is like a growing interest with people and like it just kind of being more and more talked about. And
Hmm.
like for me, I remember it was a while ago, a few years ago when I kind of was introduced to it. And then like I always knew that my sign or whatever was Gemini. And like you would see like in newspapers and stuff, like the little monthly things,
Right.
daily or whatever. And just it always kind of intrigued me, but anytime I tried looking at it or, learning more about it, even just, like, looking at the chart, I don't think I've ever really
Right.
seen my chart, but it just was all so complicated, and
Hmm.
so I'm like, I have a couple friends who's, like, super into it, so she's kinda told me
Right.
a little bit here and there, but so first, for anyone listening, what is astrology? What is astronomy? Like, what are those
Sure.
things?
Sure. Okay. So astronomy is the study of like the properties, positions, and movements of the planets. And it's just of the planets. Astrology is the study of the property, movements, and positions of the planets in their relation to people and everyday events. So astronomy I shouldn't say just, is the study of the planets in the very scientific mathematical realm, and then astrology is taking that and is almost applying like the observations to a psychological standpoint, based off of the correlation of what the sky looks like and what happens here on Earth. And that even gets down to like the everyday level and then the individual level of the effects of the planets on us individually.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. How is it kind of integrated with our daily lives? Like, how can someone use their information from their chart to kind of integrate into their daily life, their work life, relationships, all of that?
Sure, absolutely. So every planet has something that it is essentially in charge of. It's the boss of, it rules over. So Venus would be your love and ideals. Mars would be the way you assert yourself, the way you move yourself, maybe your energy level. Mercury would be how you communicate. So you would look at what the planets are in your birth chart. So, for instance, my Mercury is in Pisces. So then on a day-to-day basis, I could look to see what Mercury itself is doing in the sky and how that compares to my birth chart. That's called your transits, like your daily transits. And so you could say, like, oh, today, Mercury in Gemini is transiting my third house. So it's just where it's moving at in like a circular chart. So essentially it's like a plot map of the day-to-day orbit, and you compare it to your own chart. So it's a little bit complex. But once you start getting into it, I will say there's a quick rhythm to it. So it can seem a little, scary or like big or too complex. But I will say that I notice that clients pick up on it really fast. But so you could say like, oh shoot, like I was driving too fast today and I was being really careless and I was making simple mistakes. Like, I just wonder what was going on today. And then you could go and look up, you could just Google like today's daily transits type of thing. And you would see like, oh man, Mars was in Aries and it was making a sextile, which is the measurement of a degree, to, Pluto, which is the planet of death and transformation. So like, wow, today I really was cutting it close because of this.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that makes sense. And then actually from there, so it goes deeper and deeper and deeper. And you could look to see like the study of the best way to work with transits like that. So that's called like, remediation. So there's always like, well, this is the cause and effect, but this is how I can balance it out and better integrate this energy into my life.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. Like it is complex but it's so crazy to think about like the planets have an effect on our day-to-day, like how we feel, what we do.
Totally.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Totally.
Do you ever have people who are like, this is bogus, like like the planets don't affect us, like
For sure.
yeah, like what would you say to that
So,
person?
well, all right. So this is a little bit of a hot take, but this is my take and this is what I live by and this is my philosophy. So, this is being a really unique career path. And especially I live in, like I said, just the corner of like North Dakota, Minnesota, upper Midwest, very kind of conservative demographic. And so like I had mentioned, so like the concept of like God and faith and also astronomy and astrology were all introduced to me like right around the same time. So I had my dad and my stepmom, and then I had my mom and my stepdad. They lived on different sides of the country from each other. So like one up in the north, one way down south. And I was constantly flying back and forth. So it was just this continuous consuming. But so my bottom line is that I believe in a higher power, like a creator, a God, God. And I have to believe that God, who so intentionally created me and this purpose for me, also so intentionally created the planets. And if my life is divinely orchestrated, then I have to believe that the planet's movements are divinely orchestrated. And if I believe in this one whole connectedness that brings all of us together, of course, that extends into the cosmos. So when people say, this is bogus, whatnot, kind of a thing, then my next question is usually, well, do you believe in a higher power? Like, do you believe in God? Do you believe in like, some type of source? And so then like, why would your source stop with just you and me? Why would it not extend? Like, why would this divine greater power create you and me, but not give intention to like literally everything else? So I'm also a big believer in like messages and like signs, everything having meaning,
Same.
yeah. So for me, it's all just totally one. And so a lot of people are kind of like, oh, like I never thought it like that. And I just, my big thing is like, there just never has to be a separation, which I think people always want to separate them, but I just don't really think that's how you're supposed to do it. That's not how I do it. It's not how it feels good to me. Maybe that's not for everybody, but on my website disclaimer, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And it's funny because he come into contact with people who say, like specifically, they say that they see everything is a sign, everything has a message. So it's just funny that you brought that up because like a lot of people in my life have been bringing that up. But like the same is true for me. I look into it like that. And I do remember this was a while ago, but I remember reading something and it said how the planets also affect the water, like the oceans and stuff
Oh
too.
yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
we are mostly made up of water. So it's kind of silly to
Yeah.
deny that, you know,
I
like, and
was
so that was a huge, like, holy shit moment for me.
yeah, I was actually just on North Dakota Today, the like morning talk show here last week. And it was a solar eclipse. And I was talking about the different impact emotionally a solar eclipse has versus a lunar eclipse, because one is a new moon and one is a full moon. And uh, interviewer, just was like, oh, I wonder why that is. And I didn't think about it while I was on like live TV saying it. But later I watched the interview and I heard myself go, oh, well, it's because we're made of 80% of water. And of course, like the lunar tides. So if you see the impact it has on the oceans, of course it would impact us, and
Yeah.
I do this like hand wave kind of thing, like, so like, oh, well, obviously, but just from the astronomy standpoint, that, I mean, that is real. Like that is science. And that is like exactly how gravity and the laws of physics work. So to think that the water inside of your body operates different than the water in the oceans, essentially, like in mechanism form, is not, there's no difference. It's the same.
Yeah.
So, so I'm
Yeah.
like 80% of you is reactive to this, and that's just science. So
Yep. Exactly. I know. I hope someone listening is just like, holy shit, like I never thought of that before.
right,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah, it's crazy. Um,
Yes.
and there's so many like, I mean, there's astrology and there's like the chakra system and like human design
Yes.
and just all of these things. I don't know. I feel like someone would be like, well, where do I start? What, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if
Sure.
I really have a question for this, but just kind of pointing out that there's all of these things. And I think that whatever you dive into is okay because you can
Hmm.
implement whatever you learn into your life. But it's kind
Right.
of fun to learn about these different things. And I've been noticing they're all not that they're like similar, but
They're very synchronistic.
yes, that's a good word.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yep, totally synchronistic. I get asked about numerology and like tarot a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I don't work with tarot at the moment. I was gifted a deck and I'm just kind of growing into what my relationship is with it. I work with runes a lot. I was born in Kaiserslautern, Germany, so the Nordic runes kind of call to me a lot more than like tarot does right now. But numerology has also been one that I get asked about a lot. And numerology, and with that, like, oh, what is it, like your Enneagram and like intelligent design, like all of that kind of makes a lot of sense to me with the number backing of it, because within astrology and astronomy, it's within like your chart, your circle chart in astrology it's a plot map, it's a grid. So it's really just angles and measurements, and it's math and it's
Yeah.
formulas to calculate those positions. And so numerology and astrology and astronomy, and just like the foundation and the message of numbers, really makes a lot of sense. And also when you get into like organic geometry and like natural geometry, and just like the earth's natural way of forming like octagons, triangles, 90-degree angles, all of these types of things, it's like normal observation in the world, in life. And so all of that, so I believe in the power of math. I believe in the power of numbers. And so all of it totally aligns for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I never thought about like geometry, just like the shapes and math and all of that with,
Totally.
and
Yeah,
then that like working with the Enneagrams, because that's numbers. I never really realized
for
that.
sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. Within your like your a birth chart reading, I don't know that all astrologers do this, but something that I do in my practice is I do look at the geometric shaping of a chart. So, I'll say, oh, it's in like in a bucket shape, in a crescent shape. It's, primarily located in the upper, or, in like the right quadrant kind of a thing, or the third quadrant, or, so all of it breaks down to basic lines, math, start, stop kind of point. So
Mhm.
I don't know, everything root backs to math and science for me. That was actually my major in college, a biology major and a math minor.
Was that
So
before you got into astrology too?
it was at the same time.
The
So
same time. Oh, that's
I was
crazy.
trading birth chart readings for like bottles of Boone's
Right.
Farm.
Mm-hmm.
while, taking all of these different courses at the same time. So for me, all of it everything was just kind of clicking and developing at the same time. So for me, I'm just like, yeah, but the hard fact is this
Yeah.
is what this is. So for me, for like the naysayers, and then but then also like the connectivity of all of it, it always just makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 So phases of the moon that came into play, is
Mm-hmm.
that a part of
Mm-hmm.
astrology too?
Yep, that totally is. So actually this weekend is a first quarter. So you'll have a new moon, then you'll have a first quarter, then you'll have like your full moon, then you'll have like your fourth quarter. So it moves within the phases, and it's all, based upon orbit. And then upon that is like the emotional connected to it, like the psychology aspect. So like new moons are for like new beginnings, full moons are for endings. First quarters, which we're in this weekend, is a time of decision making. So right now, like this specific weekend, we are deciding what from the last 2 weeks, when we had the new moon and the solar eclipse, what from there we are bringing forward with us into the full moon, and into the next phase. So this is kind of a pivot point in the rotation. So from here, we decide what the next step will be. So sometimes at first quarters, we'll find ourselves with, sometimes people say like crisis. Crisis is kind of like a fear-mongering word a little bit, but you might be put into like a situation or presented with an opportunity where you have to make a decision. And the decision typically will be something from, the most recent times, last couple of weeks of your life. And you say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to carry on. This is the behavior I'm going to have. And then by the time you get to the full moon, you kind of look back and reflect and you say, what am I letting go of right now that I'm going to bring forward into this final quarter and then into the next moon? So it's just this almost like week by week assessment of like where I'm at in my decision-making process in life, and what choices am I making, and what behaviors am I exhibiting. It's just that weekly check-in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
cool. And actually, I just realized too that, like, for me, recently I've been thinking about how I need to prioritize better my schedule. And there's been a
Mm-hmm.
couple things where I need to, like, I kind of have a decision on letting some things go and then prioritizing some different things. And this weekend is kind of like in my head already before we talked, I was like, hey, I need to reflect on the past couple weeks and prioritize
Mm-hmm.
differently.
Totally.
Yeah,
Totally. Yeah. So
that's
it's so
cool.
fun. Well, welcome, because you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is it.
Wow. So
That's so
fascinating to
fun.
me.
Yes.
So what would be like, okay, so first, if someone's listening and they have heard of astrology and they kind of want to dive into it, what are some basics someone can start with learning?
Sure. So the first three, the first one is your sun, moon, and rising. So everyone knows their sun sign. That one's super easy. But you also have your moon and your rising. So where the sun was located at on the day you were born represents your ego. It's like your outer presentation kind of a thing. Your moon, where the moon was at on the day that you were born, is like that internal drive. So those more internal emotions that kind of project, outward. So people aren't necessarily going to understand that like behind the scenes mechanism. They're going to see what's up in the front, and that is your sun versus your moon. And then your rising sign is a sign that was like rising at the time, and that just means what zodiac was moving into the number one position within that day's rotation, kind of a thing. And that is how you present yourself to others based upon the sun and the moon interacting with each other. So the rising is the driving force behind it. So the first thing that I would ask people, or I would suggest people look into, is their sun, their moon, and their rising. So that's the zodiac that the sun was in, the zodiac the moon was in, and then the zodiac that was rising at the time. So those are called your big three. And that's your ego, your internal drive, and then your rising is kind of like your 2 + 2 = rising sign, essentially. From there, the next step is there's layers to this. So then you would decide, or you would look to see which house those were in. So then you know that you're Gemini sun, and say it's in the second house. And then you'd know that you're in an Aquarius moon and say that's in your seventh house. And then your rising is always in your first house. So that one's really easy. So your sun, moon, and rising, and then the houses that they occupy.
Okay. Yep. And all of that is usually what's really confuses me too, but
Right.
but yeah. So, okay. And I'm really excited because you have my birth information and we're gonna go through
Yes.
my chart. So like hopefully people can like connect the dots here with this. So that's gonna be really cool.
Yes.
Hey there. Hope you are enjoying this episode with talking about astrology. I just want to take a quick moment for Float the Grow's partner, Athletic Greens. I've been taking Athletic Greens every single day, and I started taking the greens because I wanted a way to get in more vegetables and green and nutrients from greens that I wasn't getting from my daily food intake. I'm always a food first approach and supplement where you need to. And I knew that I was lacking in greens. So I needed a convenient way to get my greens in, and one that doesn't taste icky and gross, because I've tried many. And this is the first one that I have absolutely fallen in love with, not just because of the ingredients and everything that's in it, but also because it tastes freaking good. I love having it with coconut water. I like it with water, but coconut water just adds a little something to it. I also like having it with any sort of milk. I love almond milk, oat milk, and it tastes really good. I've noticed that my digestion is a lot better. I am trying to improve my gut health, and I've been sleeping a lot better. There's magnesium in it, and I've just noticed that I sleep more solid throughout the night than before taking Athletic Greens. I usually take it in the morning, 1 scoop with coconut water or nut milk. So what is Athletic Greens? When you take 1 scoop, you're absorbing 75 high quality nutrients. What I love is that it is third-party tested, because a lot of supplements out there, they put stuff in it and you have no idea what's going in it. We don't have any way to regulate that, but they third-party test it. So I know that it's quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source, superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. And adaptogens help us cope with stress. It's very convenient, goes with any lifestyle, any diet, any way of eating that you are incorporating into your life. Supports mental clarity, alertness. I love that there's no artificial flavorings or chemicals or any of that. And it costs less than $3 a day. So right now it is time to reclaim your health with a convenient daily nutrition hack. Just 1 scoop of greens every single day. Because you listen to Float the Grow, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 and K2 and 5 free travel packs, which is amazing. When I was in Vegas, just on a family trip recently, I had one a day. It helped me because I was drinking, not eating the best because I was on vacation, and that's okay. But having these helped me, my mindset, and just know that I'm getting good nutrition each day. You're going to get also a water bottle and this canister here to put your greens in, so it's easy access to when you scoop it out. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/flow. So again, that is athleticgreens.com/FLOW to take ownership and do one simple, convenient thing for your health every single day. All right, let's get right back to the show. Before we get into that, I had a question, and I don't know if you said this or not, but when you started learning astrology, did you go to a specific book or website, or like how did you start to learn all of the things? What did you use?
Oh, when I started learning astrology, I just kind of listened to my dad talk. I have an older sister who was really influential as well. She was 8 years older than I was. And we lived in Colorado at the time. So it was just kind of like the environment that I was in. However, maybe more formative years, like 13, 14, I started really diving into like anything written by, there's an author, everyone just calls her Lilwin. So she'll have a basic breakdown, but there's a book called Everything You Need to Know About Astrology. And that is a really easy one.
Mm-hmm.
Or there's one that's literally just called Sun Sign. I really like this writer. His name is Robert Hand, and he wrote a series of 3 books, and it's the development of the planets in youth and then like in transit. So how they essentially, it focuses on your childhood and the development of the planets in your childhood, and then how they interact with each other in daily life. So Lilwin and Robert Hand, short answer.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just was super curious about that.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I would love to just dive into what you
Yes,
with my chart and anything. Yeah, would just love to go into.
totally. Okay, so like I had, prefaced when we talked initially, when I was looking over your information online, I was like, oh wow, like health, fitness, wellness, spirituality. This is so cool. So I thought it would be really fun to tell you specifically and your listeners about Mars and the sixth house in astrology, because Mars represents what motivates and drives us, and the sixth house represents our work and health styles and routines. So they are what you'd want to look at, like when you're creating like a fitness routine. They show you what kind of physical activity best suits you, and then also how to best stay on track with your fitness goals, because it looks at that like motivation point as well. So that's what I want to jump in with today with you.
Yes.
So I prepped some notes, and I'm going to email this to you when we're done too. So then you're going to have a picture of your chart, and and then if any of your listeners too who hear this want to get this done for them as well, they could totally just shoot me a message on Instagram and just say like, hey, I heard about you on the podcast, and like I want to learn about my Mars and my sixth house, and I would totally whip up something like creative and special for them.
Oh, cool.
So I'm like super open to like creative writing and readings and offers and stuff like that. So if that's something that really jumps out to anybody, I'm like super on board to just tell everyone about it. Yeah. So, okay. So the basics to start. So you're a Gemini sun. You knew that. Yep. And then you're an Aquarius moon. Did you know that?
No.
Okay. So you're a Gemini sun, Aquarius moon. Your moon is in your seventh house. And then you're a Leo rising. So you have Leo in your first house. So you're a Gemini, Aquarius, Leo. Okay. So there's to start, right? So then your Mars, though, so all of the planets, wherever they were that day, they pop up all over the place. So all of your planets, sometimes they'll be in the same signs as each other in the same houses, and sometimes they're going to be scattered all over a chart. So your Mars is in Taurus, the zodiac of Taurus, which is the second in order, because there's 12 zodiacs, and it is in your 10th house of career and social success. So I'm going to tell you all about this, and you're just going to laugh, okay? So I wrote some notes. I'm going to read them to you because, like I said, when I was going over this and I was just thinking about what I know of you, I just was like, yeah, okay, wonderful, perfect. So Mars and Taurus in the 10th house of career and social success. Taurus is a fixed earth sign ruled by Venus. So fixed is its mode. That means you are determined, you're consistent. You maybe don't so easily change your mind when you've made a choice. You're an earth sign, so there's water, air, fire, and earth. You're of the earth, and Taurus is ruled by Venus. Venus is like our love, our ideals, like your aesthetic, the kinds of foods that you like, the type of clothes that you wear, your finances, all impacted by Taurus and Venus. So Venus or Mars and Taurus is a lush, sensual, and luxuriating sign. Mars and Taurus is on a mission to build anything that creates stability, is grounding, and provides comfort. People with Mars and Taurus tend to prefer exercises that build strength over time. This Mars placement is determined and persistent with plenty of stamina and staying power. So that is just the Mars and Taurus part. So we apply it to your 10th house. And this is what so the 10th house rules your career and social success. Your 10th house is the highest point on your birth chart. It's like the highest dot on the circle, essentially. And that is like how the world views you. So your most outer reputation. And your Mars, which is your energy level, falls into your career house. So this placement speaks of great self-confidence. You believe in your own strength, which makes it easier for you to go after what you want. Mars in the 10th house people are usually very ambitious and motivated and are usually extremely competitive. So then I put, for you, an ideal workout is one that enables you to showcase your strength. You may also find something appealing if it links a sport with the natural world. such as going on a bike ride out in nature, yoga beneath trees, or even getting active in a garden. So like for older people with this placement, or just anybody who's like, I don't want to do that, because Taurus is the bull. So when you think of the bull, you think of this like great, powerful animal, but it would really love to just be great and powerful while like snacking on like fabulous greens all day. So then also, some kind of out of the box ideas would be like weightlifting, powerlifting, like PRX workouts, boxing, gymnastics, and then also bar and ballet. And I say those two as well because famous people who have your Mars placement are Muhammad Ali, and then so the boxer, and then Alex Rodriguez, who was the baseball player. And those were just people who continuously just built their careers. And it was like knock down, get back up, knock down, get back up, like that fighter, champion, determined, confident, rooted, gritty people who are just like, I'm doing this, I'm getting it done. Tauruses aren't afraid of hard work. And then also like being embracing of the natural world around them. So they're people who are like very in tune with their senses and their body, which makes you more aligned with the natural world outside nature.
Yep, that all definitely really resonated right there.
Right. And also, so that Mars in the 10th house also makes you someone who's like highly ambitious in your career. And so for you to publicly work within like fitness and motivation and life improvement, I was like, oh yeah, Mars and Taurus in the 10th house for sure.
Mhm.
And like building something substantial that lasts. It's like intentional content. Totally. I just said it was the solar eclipse in Taurus last weekend. And I was talking about the phrase, Rome wasn't built in a day. I said, whoever said that was a Taurus, because they were like, we are building this thing. It's going to be long withstanding. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be awestruck. But man, we are taking our time. We are doing it the right way. And so I think of Taurus just as like Mars, or Rome was not built in a day, but like, dang it, when we build it, it's going to be here. And that is such just Mars and Taurus like work ethic approach. And so
Yeah.
I don't know if that totally vibes with you, but it vibes with how I picture you in my brain.
Yeah, it does. And that's funny. That's so funny because like that's how I view anything in life, but like with my business, like I know that it's gonna take, it's gonna take time. Like anything takes time, but like I am very much like get knocked down, like get back up. I mean, I have like self-doubt and stuff every now and then, but like everything you just said, like that's kind of how I live. And especially that the Rome isn't built in a day. Like I see
Totally.
the bigger like picture and vision down the line, and I don't know when it all will
Right.
happen, but it's like I just see it being built up even through like the challenges and just like the overarching like vision that I
Right.
have.
So then there's the next layer to it, right? So that was just on your Mars. And in a minute, I'm going to tell you about what Mars is doing with the other planets. When I talk about the planets, sometimes I like to create the imagery that like all of the planets are kids playing on a playground. And it's kind of like looking to see what those kids are doing on the playground that day. So that is kind of like how
Oh, cool.
but I also teach preschool part-time. So
Oh,
to
yeah.
me, that's just so like, oh, and here's like Mars and Pluto over here behind the tree, like squishing ants. But then you've got like Venus and Jupiter over here, like making flower bracelets.
Yeah, that makes
Um,
sense.
right. So then we go to look at your sixth house. So there's all of the planets, and then there's all of the houses. So there's, the planets, and then there's the 12 houses. And so all of the planets end up in a house. And so it's just like themes. It's just like an overlap. It's kind of the layers to it. So when we go to look at your sixth house is in Capricorn, which is another earth sign, also very determined, very persistent. So you have your sixth house in Capricorn. The sixth house is of work and health. So I wrote, when we look to the sixth house, we gain insight into what our healing journey might involve, and if it also includes helping others in a similar way, because the sixth house shows the way that we provide service and like the service is provided back to us. So the sixth house links the emotional roots to the areas of work and health and the unconscious tendencies that lead to conditions and practical circumstances of our lives. You specifically need rest and routine for proper function, and you have to avoid getting out of a healthy routine. You set very high standards for yourself. Each thing you do has to be incredible and faultless. When you overcome this need, though, for these high expectations, and you can relax more into your routine, then you gain more stamina and dedication. So consistently trying to like go is not the way it's going to happen for you. You need to embody work hard but play hard. Like you've got to have that balance. And like once you have more of that balance, and this could be said for anyone, but this is specifically within some people don't need a routine. Some people can like sleep until 2 p.m., get up at 4, work until 3 a.m., go, like some people don't have to have that. That's not your case. So then I wrote, this other little side note. So there's all different ways to approach astrology, but some people study medical astrology. It's like a little bit of a taboo, especially like in this, current day climate with everything kind of being a hot topic for everybody and controversial. But medical astrology does say that people with Capricorn in their 6th house typically don't consume enough calcium and need to take better care of their bone and joint health, or you can suffer down the road from that. So that might be something to watch for. So then I continued on to write, okay. So this part gets a little bit spicy, and this is where, so I'm going to get a little bit more personal, but I'm not going to say anything too crazy. But this is where that remediation comes in. Like this is where we can look at how to really enhance this by doing some of that like inner work in your emotional world, not just in the way that you approach exercise and routine. But I also wrote, this placement could mean you actually thrive as a leader in the world of wellness, but you might be a little out of touch with your needs and emotions. It might help to have a Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces friend with whom you can confide. Capricorn in the 6th house requires structure and a system for their wellness plan. The earth element could be balanced with water, which means you need to pay more attention to your emotions. You have to connect your body with how you feel so you don't lose sight that your well-being goes beyond your physical results.
I'm just like taking it all in because I'm just like in like holy shit mode.
So then this was my final note here is, so you have your Mars. So this is what your Mars is doing on the playground. Okay. Your Mars is in a trine, which a trine is the most wonderful connectivity you could have with Jupiter. Jupiter is the most expansive and abundant planet. So this is your energy, your assertion, your stamina being combined seamlessly with abundance in life. And they meet in your 2nd house of self-worth and finances. And I put, you mostly compete with yourself to see how far you can go or how much you can accomplish. You like to keep stretching your own limits. With trines, you do need to make the most of this aspect to gain its full benefits and opportunities. You can tend to just take it easy at times if you're not specifically interested in what you're doing. So that's when we circle back to you connecting with your emotions to say, is this fulfilling for me? Is this not fulfilling for me? Where can I improve? Where are my emotional needs not being met at, like kind of just that like whole body check. Like if I'm not fully into this right now, like what's the why behind that? And is this something I keep working towards, or is this something I take a step back from and focus on something else? So like I said, I'm going to email all of this over to you. And there, I had a couple other little notes in here too, just kind of like some more like nuanced things that your Mars is doing as well. And those get a little bit more personal. So those aren't things that'd be like a one-on-one kind of a thing.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah. So from this, we see your Mars in Taurus, so your assertion style, the way that you put yourself out there in life, and then also your 6th house of work and health, and how those connect together. And then from there, you can even dive into like the diet that would fit you best. Like, those, like I said, like the, maybe more calcium intake, but maybe that's more like black beans and broccoli, and maybe that's not so much dairy, or, just kind of like fine tuning it by looking at more of like those clusters of what the planets are doing on the playground. Because the more you get into those little clusters with, someone like myself, or if someone studies it independently, the more you can look at those aspects, like the deeper, the louder the clues are going to get.
Yeah. Holy cow. Okay.
I watched your face when I said all of that, and at one point you just burst out laughing, and I was like, "Oh, something just rang. Something just rang
true. I did
multiple
things. You just kept like saying, I'm just like, holy cow. So first of all, let's see. Oh yeah, I definitely, the calcium thing is funny because I know I don't get enough calcium.
Right.
Pretty sure I don't anyways. Okay, then I'm trying to like backtrack my thoughts from all of this. So it's funny that you said it would benefit me to have a friend who is Scorpio.
Cancer or Pisces. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I was gonna bring this up because actually my girlfriend is a Scorpio.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And yeah, someone told me because she like isn't like an expert in astrology, but she like like kind of looked into it and she knows some stuff and she told me that Scorpios usually either do not get along at all or they get along very well. Is that true?
Yeah, so Scorpios, so Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces are the three water signs. So the Cancer is going to be the most like internally focused. The Pisces is going to be the most like externally focused, the more who's maybe. So Cancer would be like the water in a confined pond. Pisces would be like a morning mist, and Scorpio would be the at times most treacherous undertow you've ever seen that digs up everything we try to keep under the surface and brings it to the light. So Scorpios are just so naturally like intense bringing that there's like, they just immediately are like, I must know the bottom line. And so Scorpios either must know the bottom line with each other or they don't want to know, or, or they're not open to like giving that bottom line to another kind of a thing. So yeah, Scorpios are definitely the spiciest of the zodiac. That's
Oh, she's gonna laugh when she hears that.
yeah.
So funny. That's true. Yeah, that's so yeah. When you said that, I'm just like, oh, funny, because that's my girlfriend, and I do confide. Like,
Totally.
I'm trying to like confide in her more too, especially like work-life balance. And the other thing too that you brought up was with like working hard but playing hard, and
Hmm.
kind of. I don't remember exactly. I'm excited to like listen back to all of this, but whatever you said
Hmm.
about that part, that's really resonated because I went through a time in my previous job recently where I did like it was like work, 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 and then it was like where I kind of felt guilty if I wasn't working. I didn't really have that balance. And like
Totally.
now
Totally.
that I'm working podcast, full-time coaching, like I'm trying to like build my own business, but also I'm having more time where it's kind of like more fluid, flowy. I'm not putting pressure on
Totally.
myself. And it's like
Hmm.
that feels a lot better. And it's like I feel like I have more of a clearer vision, like I'm in flow and yeah, it's
Totally.
when you said that,
Totally.
I'm just like,
Yep. So you have a Capricorn sixth house of your work and health. And I have a Capricorn fifth house of my creativity and joy. So like when I intensely schedule fun time for myself, that is when I can like flourish because I'm just like, no, this is my work time and this is my play time. And when I have play time, I'm about to play because when I work, I am about to work. And that like hard edge concrete structure for me has been like new life giving.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I definitely feel like when I have more of a routine too, like that helps me a lot. Like it's
Hmm. Hmm.
I've sometimes I'll like kind of wing it and I mean at times like if I'm more of like hey, I'm just more like self-care, like not gonna have a to-do list, that's fine. But like in my day, I like to have this routine. Um,
Definitely.
so that
And
helps.
that
Yeah.
helps a lot with like with routine helps a lot with boundaries and keeping boundaries and like not stretching yourself too thin and like making sure that you're having that full body interaction too. And I'm such a preacher of like boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. Let's figure out the best way within your chart for you to assert your boundaries. And
Yeah.
yours is literally with, strict self-care, routine, self-love, work hard, play hard. Like giving
Yes.
yourself time, giving yourself pace, the ability to adjust your pace.
Yeah. Yes. I like that you said that, the ability to
Mhm.
adjust my pace. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. I am a runner and I'm training for my seventh marathon in just 2 weeks. And that has
Nice.
been a huge one for me, has been tapping into like at what mile can I speed up? At what mile can I slow down? Like at what pace am I most comfortable at here, here, and here to get me the results that I want? And so that has been like my big 2022 I like, thought to ponder is like, what if my pace is not the same all the time? What if I just say
Yeah. Yeah.
that?
Wow. Yes. And also I love that like astrology and all like everything. It kind of confirms or like validates that it's okay to not live life the same way as someone else or to not work the same as someone
Yeah,
else. You know? Yeah. Like
huge.
it's relieving.
It's huge, huge. I went through this really big, like, like personal identity crisis, if you will, when I went from the transition of like, I thought that I was going to like coach children's gymnastics and, probably like bartend for the rest of my life. And then I realized that like astrology was speaking louder and louder to me. And then I had my own children, and I was like, why would I be with other people's kids? I could just be with my own kids all day. And it was just this huge internal conflict of like, do I want to like, come out essentially as like an astrologer and tell people like, hey, this is what I'm doing. And then I looked to my birth chart and I saw a placement that talked about me being able to like the more I fully embrace my individuality, like the more the professional realm I wanted to get into would accept me more. And I was like, I don't really know about this. So I took this huge leap and I got a hand tattoo. And everyone was like, never going to be able to go back to the professional realm again. And I was like, well, I guess I'm just doing the astrology thing forever. And my birth chart just so intensely confirmed to me, like, the more that I embrace my own inner drive and my own creative process and my own routine, the more success I will have. And yes,
Yeah.
100% it has. And the more I like surrender to that and just trust, like, wow, I can have what I want and I can have what I need. And it says it right here. And this is my permission to do it.
Yes. Yeah. Permission. And it's very
Mhm.
empowering, gives us that power, that empowerment, the confidence to be like, okay, yeah, like
Mhm.
this, I
Mhm.
can, yeah, like you said, like I can do this.
Yes, yep, absolutely. Like, wow, like actually I can have whatever I want. Wow, actually we all can have like whatever we want. We just have to like believe in ourselves and work towards it. And when we hit those roadblocks, something like astrology is a phenomenal tool to like dive into and say, like, what do I need to hear or read or see right now to give me that push? Like, okay, yes, I am on the right path.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Wow. Oh, wow. So if someone is listening and they're like, "Hey, I want to like work with you," or they like,
Mhm.
okay, so what's like your process of everything when you're working with?
Yes, my art medium is writing. Before I got into science in college, before I switched majors, I was going for communications, and I've just been like a writer my whole life. So a lot of astrologers will do like video Zoom consults, or they'll like send you a recording of them talking. I send you like a mini book on yourself. So sometimes, I mean, they've ranged anywhere from like 20 to like 40 pages before, where I'm also like a natural detective, and I have to just break down every single little detail that I see. And maybe I can only get out 3 sentences about it, but like I'm gonna mull over those 3 sentences for a day. So I write. So you go to my website or you send me a message, we determine what reading is best for you. I am pretty well booked out. I do, within that setting your own pace. I don't ever like someone's reading to feel like rushed or like pushed or like I'm just saying this to say this. I always want to like really deeply understand what I'm saying to someone. So I like to take my time with it. So I do get a little bit booked out. Like some people have been on my wait list for like a few months, but I always hear like it's so worth it.
Oh
And
yeah, I
from
bet.
there, and then from there, with all of my readings, you get a half-hour follow-up phone call or Zoom, so we can jump in after you've read it. We can talk about your chart if you have any follow-up questions. I put out like a monthly calendar people can purchase. I do like posts every Friday. So if people want to get a big reading, but they also want to do something else right now, I've started working and like producing a lot of like monthly content. People can kind of dive in there too. So yeah, and then once you're a client, you're kind of a client for life. I am really blessed with a community of clients who are like all repeat clients from the last like 6 years. So I have this like phenomenal community of people that I'm continuously working with. I can't say I've ever had someone who's gotten a chart and I've never heard from them again.
That's amazing. That
So
says a lot
yeah.
about you, who you are, what you do, what you like, the relationship that you build to with clients, and with
Mhm.
the fact that you take a lot of time to look into the readings, and you don't just like book for money. Like
No, that's
it's
the
not like
thing. And
yeah.
I always tell people, I'm like, hey, if waiting gets to be too much for you, I will reimburse you. I will send you your money back. If you are like, hey, it has been 6 weeks and I wanted this reading like 2 weeks ago and I just do not have time for your process, I'm like, cool, I get it. If you need to go find answers today, go find, and you can however it goes. Money is such a like fluid component for me. And so I just am like, my boundary is my process is what feels good to me as a creator is I need to take time, and I promise I'm not messing around. I want it to feel good when I tell you this message. So within that, I just always tell people, like, if it feels like it's too long of a wait, it's too long for wait, and I get that, and I hope we can interact on the road. But if you have the ability to like make this decision to say, like, I want to get a reading, I want to connect with myself on this level. Also, I understand Rome wasn't built in a day. This might take a few weeks. So that's my process. My process is make a purchase, wait, I'll send you an email. Typically people love it.
Yeah.
And then we're friends forever.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's like that is a solid way to build a business, because then you are, like I said, building relationships, and it's
Mm-hmm.
built on that, and on, I don't know the word I'm trying to say, but just you being like true to how you want to live, and
Mm-hmm.
providing the person with information or whatever that's going to be
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
than helpful. And yeah.
As someone who, you also build a small business. So for a while, it was really hard for me to figure out like what my price point needed to be like, what everything needed to look like with business, because so often I say like, if only passion could pay the bills, if I could just pay my bills with passion, or like a hug, or like, a thank you, or wouldn't that be so cool if you were just like,
Yep.
hey, electric company, thank you for giving me power this month. And they were like, oh yeah, we're just going to put this high five in our bank and keep your lights on for another month.
Yeah.
But of course, like, you can't do that. So for a really long time, literally it was like $10 for a bottle of Boone's Farm. And then I became a mom and I could not barter that way anymore. Like, that was not conducive to my life. But
Yeah.
now I'm just like, I want to continue to study and to grow and to understand and to share and to educate, and to like help people as much as I can. But within that, we have to determine what our process is, what your price looks like, what your timeline looks like, and
Mhm.
all of that. I went through this really big leap in the last like year or so, where I was like, this is all I really want to do. I love, 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 love teaching children, and I think that will never leave my life. But astrology is where it's what I want to just wake up, eat, sleep, do, because that's what I'm doing inside my head anyway. So I'd
Yeah.
like to do it for other people. So it's fun. It's so fun, and I feel like if there's any way people can connect with it, they just should.
Yes. Oh, very cool. So do you have I know you have Instagram. Do you have a website, or do you just
Yep,
usually
I
put
do. Yep. So I have Instagram. I've got a Facebook. I've got a website. I have a blog. I've got kind of all of it now. I have a Twitter, but it's mostly lots of like hot takes and spicy conversations, like all Twitter is. So that's not
Yeah.
that's kind of like, oh, take a peek and leave maybe. But yep, so I've got the website. People can always get a hold of me on Instagram and stuff too. I have everything, pretty easy transactional on the website. But if people look at the website and this is like, if it's like not affordable, or if it's not what they're looking for, or it just isn't making sense to them, I'm always so open to just like open dialogue about like what people are looking for. And sometimes people come to me and I'm like, it doesn't even sound like you want a reading from astrology. It kind of sounds like you want to work in the rooms right now. And so that's really cool too. So I'm so fluid in all of that.
Yeah.
Like, I really believe in that fluidity is what like connects us so much. The ability to be flexible in between like a business and a customer flexibility, I think, is so important too.
Yes. Yes, I agree. I say the same things too when I talk with people
Yeah.
and stuff. So yeah, that's amazing.
Right.
All of that
Right.
will definitely be linked in the show notes too. So
Cool. Perfect.
yeah. So let's see. Last question. I guess two last questions here. So what would be like, and it's okay if you don't, but do you have
Mhm.
like an overarching message or like anything that you want to, you feel like someone needs to hear, or a message that you want to share?
Yes, so this there has been this big, kind of like moral pondering I've had for a while now, because it's 2022. We're coming out of a pandemic where, half of the globe is at war, like having all of these like financial things. Like life can seem like very like overwhelming and like loud and like opinionated and like heavy right now. And I just get that, so I really was struggling with like toxic positivity, like I being, positive in a toxic way by being like, oh, you can find all of this inspiration and encouragement and fulfillment and stuff like that within your birth chart. And, I was like, am I being real? Am I being true? Like, am I being transparent in my writing and in my work with people, just saying like, oh, well, here's kind of the bad part, but let's focus on the good. But my conclusion in the last couple of months has been, yeah, no, let's actually just focus on the good. Like, let's be like aware and like respectful and like give time and like process and words to the hard things that we're going through in life. But, I want to use astrology and I want to use the everyday messages and the numerology and the enneagrams and all of those things just to bring people up and like positivity in their life. And so I'm like, even though everything is really kind of crazy right now and everything feels like scary and unknown and uncertain, like my number one thing has just been like, you're in control of your actions and your mindset. And that's just what we have to stay focused on. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm all at. I'm like, let's be real. Let's be transparent. Let's be vulnerable. Let's be grounded, but also let's stay positive, because that is the only way things are going to get better.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, I like how you said we have
Mhm,
like we can choose our actions and our mindset. That's huge.
mhm,
Hmm.
mhm.
And then last question. So my podcast is called Flow with the Grow. So I just love
Right.
hearing everyone's different opinions. Like, what comes to mind? What do you think of when you hear that?
Flow with the growth. I was just thinking about, like they say that like healing isn't linear and like we're all on this journey and we're all on this process. And something I am learning is that flexibility is so very important, regardless of how hard it feels. So flow with the grow totally sounds like, jump through the hurdles, get knocked down with punches, get back up again, take this leap, like take this step, like flow with the grow. You got to just get up every day and say yes. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you say yes, and sometimes you're like, yep, all right, let's do it. And so when I think of flow with the grow, I'm like, yeah, let's just wake up and do it. Let's flow with the grow. Let's make the choice and let's go forward, please.
Yes. Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that. Oh, well, thank you so much for being on and
Yes,
sharing and being willing to look at my charts and share some things with
totally.
me and talking about it. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. It's
excited.
been so fun. Yes, yes, yes. I can't wait to send these notes over to you too. So then you can see it and read it and reflect. And now that you're at this first quarter moon this weekend, and and so I totally believe that you received this information at this time for a reason. So now
Yeah.
you
Oh,
can take
that's
it
very
with you.
true.
Yep.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you so much. And I can't
Yes,
wait to like hopefully stay in touch for sure. And
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Cool. Well, thank you.
Awesome. Cool. Yes. Thank you so much.